Not every agent wants to be recruited to, but we're going to be talking about how to be transparent and consistent with your communication on this episode of Brokerpreneur Podcast. Let's get started. Running a brokerage is hard work. So whether you're focused on building your own sales pipeline, hiring the best agents, leveling up your team's production, or protecting culture you've built, you're in the right place. Real estate brings the challenges, and we share the solution. Welcome to the show dedicated to broker entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, aka Papa Smirk. I'm here with the bourbon legend himself.
That's all from the last episode, everyone.
It was a good one.
It was.
I'm here with the big guy as usual, Matt Vi. How's it going, Matt?
Doing absolutely fantastic, Papa Smirk.
Yeah. So I just had, I saw your case there. I thought that was your phone. Your phone's over there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I just had, a handful like this spiciest mix ever.
Right.
And so I'm going to be chugging water, chugging water the rest of the podcast. Sorry, guys, if you're watching. That's just, I'm not a camel.
Right.
Matt, what are we talking about today?
So we want to be transparent and consistent with our communication. I'm going to give you some tips of how to do that so that the message that you're putting out is one that can be really effective, not only converting the people that you're talking to, but also helping attract some other folks. So.
I love it. Well, guys, wherever you're listening to this, hit that follow and that subscribe button. No better time than the present than to go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com, check out all the cool things that we have there. I'm going to start, updating the site on a regular basis with some different cool free stuff there on the homepage. So I hope you can go and take advantage of that. I hope that helps your brokerage for sure.
Bunch of guides, we just have so much information that's just kind of sitting there. So we want to get it out to everybody.
Yeah, we got a huge catalog and huge library, which will make sure that you guys have it at your disposal. So, Matt.
Yep.
Do real estate agents really want to be recruited to?
No. Podcast over.
All right.
Wrap it
This is
up.
our last episode.
That doesn't mean that they don't want to change.
Yes, of course.
Right? I mean, of course, they want to change, but they don't want to be recruited to, just like you as the broker don't want to be recruited to.
Yeah.
Right? So let's put it this way, right? Do you want unsolicited sales calls out of the blue about stuff that you didn't even want, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, right? So does that mean that you can't call them and entice them and no? So don't get that in your head. We're talking big picture here. We're talking in general, what is the rule, right?
Yeah. I do like unsolicited sales emails.
Emails, yeah. You don't want the calls.
Yeah, I don't want the calls.
Yeah.
I do want you. Most people don't want the emails. I want the emails.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're being very transparent in our conversations and communications with people. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in just a second. Whenever you take a look at recruiting and having those initial conversations with people, we say this all the time. If you listen to the podcast, you hear us say it, right? The first thing that they should receive is value. The first thing they should experience is a culture of growth, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking to a recruit. So a lot of people they just don't have the desire to have you reach out to them and interrupt them in their day. And then as the broker, a lot of those people don't have that first value conversation with them. And so what it ends up being is they don't have a lot of time and they call and I've got 5 minutes, I got 20 minutes, I need to recruit. I know I need to do this. I've set an hour aside because, whoever said I needed to set an hour aside. And then they sit down and they start reaching out and they start having those conversations and they don't know what value they're going to deliver to the person. And so literally what they've done is the same thing that everybody else in the market is doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Is I've got a few minutes to recruit. I need to add some people to my team. I'm going to reach out to them, and I hope I find someone that's in need of wanting to make a transition to a brokerage, right?
Yeah.
We're going to encourage you not to do that. We're going to encourage you instead to look at most of the agents that you deal with, that you're developing a future relationship with them and not a right now transition with them.
Yep.
If you have that in mind, you are going to come across right now transitions. That is going to happen.
Absolutely.
But if you reach out to them from the standpoint of I really want to develop future relationships, to rent space in their head, if you approach it that way, if you approach it from a value first standpoint, if you approach it from I'm not calling to recruit you, I'm calling to get and stay connected with you and to deliver value to you. That's what I'm actually calling about. And if the time comes that you want to talk a little bit more about my brokerage, I'd love to do that. If you take it from that standpoint, you're going to run across people that are like, I love that. I'd love to learn more right now. You happen to catch me at the right time right now. Absolutely, that's going to happen. And so if you're going to make a fundamental choice of how you want to approach this, do it that way.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest benefit of this that a lot of people just overlook, which they should not overlook. You as the broker are more likely to enjoy, appreciate, and consistently do that if that's how you look at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, completely agree with that.
Instead of you calling up saying...
So comfortable.
Yeah, right. Instead of you calling up saying, man, if I don't get a bunch of people to say yes right now, I've got to go through 984 no's in order to get that one yes that somebody wants to meet with me right now. That's hard to do on a consistent basis, especially if you're a broker that's selling still. Because you're already hearing no's. You're already putting out fires. You're already dealing with crap. The last thing that you want is some more negativity added on top of you when it comes to recruiting, right?
Yep.
I'm begging you, don't do that. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, that's where most brokers start.
Absolutely. And just don't. Just look at it as future business. Look at it as value first. Look at it as creating a relationship with them, and you are going to come across some of those right now people.
Yeah, and when you do, right? Like there will come a time when you're like having that conversation with them, and you can clearly let them know, like, look, I'm in the hiring process,
right?
Right, and they're going to be like, okay, well, I know I'm being recruited, right. But I know that it didn't start necessarily there. It started from a value standpoint.
Right. So a lot of people struggle with the thought that I don't want to, they'll study how to close on a person or on a sale or whatever, right? Yeah. But they don't like the thought of having to execute that close.
Correct.
Okay. They're worried about it because they're going to do it at the wrong time or whatever the deal is. I'm just going to encourage you that there are closings that you should use. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to encourage you not to look at closing them as an event. Okay.
Right.
I'm going to encourage people to look at it as a process.
Yeah.
I've said this before a bunch of times. The process starts before they ever meet with you. Your brokerage has a reputation. They're hearing about it probably for the most part a long time before they actually meet with you. Okay, they're meeting other agents from your brokerage, they're doing transactions or deals, all that kind of stuff. All of those things are happening ahead of time with experienced agents, right?
Correct.
So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're really comfortable when we transition and tell them, hey, look, I'm hiring people. I would like for you to come join me. I'm putting you in, we call it the recruiting loop. At that point, we're putting them in that recruiting loop. It's almost like you want to have permission from them that they're entering that loop instead of them being surprised to find out they're in that loop.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants to get that phone call and go, the broker call up and go, hey, Ben, this is Matt. You're in my recruiting loop now. It's time for that. I'm going to attack you day after day until you finally decide to join me. Do you want to join my company or not right now? Right? Yeah. Of course, nobody would say that, right? But that's kind of how it comes across sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of instead of just saying, hey, listen, I know you probably get recruited to all the time. I'm actually just calling. I got a bunch of stuff that's really valuable that's going to help you with your business. I'd love to share as much of that with you as possible. And if at any point in the future you decide to kind of look at another brokerage, I would at least like to be at the top of that list.
Yeah.
And Ben, you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Right. I'll join right now.
Right. Okay, so that's the easy answer. The hard answer is no. You're wasting your time. I would absolutely never leave. Right. Yeah. And at that point, you say, I completely get it. Promise, no pressure. That's not what I'm calling about. But I'd love to follow up if I come across anything that may help you out with your business. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And what are they going to say? Yes, no, or maybe. It's real estate. Accept, decline, or amend. Right. So at that point, you can now put them aside for 6 months. You can put them aside for a month, for whatever that, right? Because now you've had that conversation and you've said, you're not in my recruiting loop. You're just in a loop where I'm staying connected with agents that are in the marketplace, and you're going to hear things from them, from people that never left. I would stay in contact with people that told me and were true to their word. I'd never leave the company that I'm with. And I would say things, I completely understand. I'd love to stay connected in case that ever does happen, right? Because, never is a big word, right? But on top of that, I love knowing what's going on in the market. Is it okay if we stay connected? You're an experienced agent. I'd love to hear your perspective on what's going on in the market.
Yeah.
And then I'd call back a month, 2 months later, whatever. And all of a sudden there's, some of it's gossip, right? I don't like the gossip part about, what's going on with brokerages. You'd hear that a lot.
Of course.
You'd hear who's moving and all that kind of stuff and everything. But you'd also hear about the market because I'd say, so tell me, how's it going? What are you seeing from a listing standpoint? All that kind of, and they would love to share that because all the pressure was off of them. And I got great insight from that. And I'm telling you, we've mentioned this before, I would have people that I talked to that were never going to join my company that would tell me about other agents that I should call that they bumped into.
You know it.
And so I'd have that conversation. So tell me how the market. Yeah, market's great and everything. By the way, yesterday in my open house, so and so with this company, they were asking me how I liked where I'm at and everything. And I love where I'm at, but you've always been helpful and everything. I told them that they should talk to you as well. And I would reach out and how powerful is that to say, I know so-and-so with this other brokerage referred you to me with another brokerage for us to at least sit down and have a conversation. I can't tell you how many times that happened, and that's because the people that did not want to be in the recruiting loop, I did not force them into the recruiting loop.
Yeah.
And just like all the rest of the recruiting stuff that I've done, I learned this the hard way.
Hey, Dr. Ben here. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If sometimes you feel overloaded or alone when it comes to building your brokerage, I want you to know that we are here for you. There's so much support available to agents, but hardly any dedicated to brokers. I want to personally invite you to schedule a complimentary strategy call where Matt will help you build a 3-step profitability plan that will immediately produce results. This is not a sales pitch. There's no obligation. Simply click the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the show. Oh, yeah. That's the way all the good lessons are learned.
Yeah.
Right?
Seems like the only way I learn them.
So, a lot of the listeners out there, maybe you're still selling real estate, to kind of, support your brokerage a little bit, or maybe, you just got started or whatever, and you're the only agent. That's okay too. Yep. Right? A lot of our clients, are in the exact same boat when they first come with us. So, big hug out to you. Let's get growing that brokerage together.
Right.
Agents shouldn't feel like you're taking a break from selling to give them a call, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, they hear you going through Taco Bell.
Right.
What? I don't know. Sorry, I'm in between showings. Thought I'd give you a ring, see if you're going to join my brokerage. They shouldn't feel like that. They really need to feel like, whoa, this person saw something in me, right, that they want to connect with, and that's where you can kind of be specific with that value as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once you know that.
Yeah, you're not trying to hide that you're out there selling. That's not what I'm saying.
Of course.
And that's not what you're saying. But it also can't make them feel like, hey, I'm selling a whole lot and everything, but I'd really like for you to hurry up and join my company because I need to get back to selling.
Yeah.
Right? Most experienced productive agents don't need a tremendous amount of support. But when they need it, man, they need it.
Yeah.
And they want to know that you're going to have the time for them when the time comes.
Yes.
Okay? So support going in, we talked about this in every podcast recently, okay? We're in 2023. Market is changing, shifting. There are still some things up in the air about how much of a shift and a change that it will be. Mm-hmm. I can promise you, agents are going to want support to navigate this change.
Yes.
The bulk of agents are. Now, some agents have it figured out, but the bulk of agents are going to need some help navigating this. What that means is that you have to be good at being able to communicate with them about what's going on in the market, which it helps if you're out there selling, okay? Mm-hmm. But they also have to know that when they need something from you, you're going to stop doing what you're doing and you're actually going to support them, or you have people in place to support them. You can have a contract specialist and a tech specialist and a welcome specialist and a KV core specialist and a whatever specialist. You can have all those things in your office, right?
Right.
Those people that are there that are resourced to help out with that. But they're going to need to know that when they have to have some help, that somebody is there to help them out.
Yes.
Most of the time they want it to be the broker. A productive agent, a top producer, a team of whatever needs to know that they're getting the answer that is going to be the reliable answer that they're going to get backed up on when the time comes. Okay?
Yep.
So these other support positions, can be very good at answering a lot of those questions, but those really productive people, when they call, they really need to know that they're going to be able to get in touch with you. Okay?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right.
And so that doesn't mean stop selling. That's not what we're saying. But you better have some things in place that are going to help you make sure you're supporting them the way that they need it, especially going into the market we're going into.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a plan, keep working it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, for sure. So, also take into consideration, when you're reaching out, because again, you're talking about being transparent and consistent with your communication. The first thing we talked about was real estate agents don't want to be recruited to. Mm-hmm. So when you're reaching out, don't talk to them like they're answering a job post.
Right.
When you're literally calling them out of the blue.
Right. Yeah. So that's and I think that happens a decent amount, right? You called them. That doesn't mean they were exploring their opportunities.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I don't think a lot of brokers do this. Okay. I think it's a small majority of brokers that do it. I think when it happens though, is when somebody shows a little bit of interest, all of a sudden we have that shift and we're like, oh my gosh, I got it. I've got a live one, right?
Yep.
And so now I have to change and I got to start selling them. I got to start, right? Stop that. Absolutely 100% just stop that. That's not what you should. Yeah, that's right. That's not what you should be doing whenever you're having those conversations with them. In my opinion, the best thing to do is try to set up something formal to have that conversation with them. Okay, whether they're going to meet you face to face or whether they're going to come in, to the office or by Zoom or whatever it is, right? Go ahead and set up something a little bit more formal. It's great talking to you a little bit about this. I'd really like to dig into it. Do you mind if I set a time where we can sit down and talk a little bit more about it and kind of get to the bottom of it? That would make a lot of sense to be able to have to have a substantive conversation that's truly centered around, at that point, them being in your recruiting loop.
Yeah,
you follow me?
Absolutely.
And if that's if it starts to shift, that way the context is different. That way you can send them some follow up information to prep them for the meeting. You got a great video that that says how you're going to support a little bit, or you've had you got your staff reaching out to them, or whatever the deal is. There's some transitions that you can have that can stage the conversation better once they've agreed that that's where they're at.
Yes.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And so that way, don't call them up and say, hey, look, I just wanted to call and tell me a little bit about your background. That's basically saying, send me your resume.
Yeah.
Right. And then, well, I did this and this much production. Well, I noticed that your production shift. We've talked about this before. There was one company and the dude was super proud of himself. Right. He would go into he'd go into a program and he'd look at their trends in their business, which I think is fantastic. Look at their trends in their business and everything and try to pinpoint where their pain was. And he would call, and that's really what he would try as quickly as possible to, and those are his words, not mine, to get into that pain point in their business. And I said, dude, let me get this straight. Guys out there, gals out there making it happen. And you're calling them up in the middle of their busy day, and as quickly as possible, you want to get them to their pain point. Is that really what you just told me? And he paused for a second. He was like, well, no, you're taking it the wrong way. And I'm like, the hell I am.
Yeah.
I'm just going with exactly what you said. And if you're telling me that, I'm positive that's what you're doing. And so, whole different conversation. But basically, he was treating them like he was calling them out of the blue and doing a job interview with them.
Yeah.
On somebody that's in the middle of their day.
Yeah, trying to ruin their day, essentially.
Right, trying to cause some pain. So needless to say, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right, time and place for having those conversations. Problem, agitate, solution. We all know that, right?
Yep.
But the bottom line here is, they didn't call you to give them a job interview, or they didn't ask you to call them and give them a job interview.
Exactly. So, we talk a lot about, offering value. We've talked on this podcast about, listen, call and just start with value first, right? But when is enough is enough at some point, right? So when do you say, gosh, I've sent so much value to this person, but they still just don't seem like they're interested in coming?
Yeah. So when the value that you're sending no longer fits what you know about the person based on your conversations.
Okay.
When the value that you're sending no longer fits with what you know about the person based on your conversations. Okay. So you're not just calling them out of the blue and saying, hey, look, here's 12 steps to getting more listings. Hey, look, here's 12 steps to getting more buyers. Hey, here's 19 steps to getting more whatever it is. Hey, here's a lead magnet that this, and here's a video that, and here's a whatever. you have no idea what's going on with their business, and you're literally just throwing stuff at them, hoping something sticks, yeah, you probably went too far.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you send something to them, the 19 things that you can do to get more listings, right? Are you calling them back up and saying, "Hey, I sent that thing to you about getting more listings," and I was just kind of assuming because the market that we're in that we're getting more listings. Do you mind if I ask? Is that really part of your plan? I kind of like to know what's going on with people in the market and everything. Are you seeing it being hard getting listings right now?
Yeah.
And see what they say. And now if you can open up that conversation and get them to start talking, now you can follow up with more value that's very specific to that.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to create that reciprocity with them.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Cool.
So, the last thing I want to talk about, right, is like 2 of the 6 C's.
Right.
Right. And that's with anything in recruiting, with anything in retention, with anything in agent production, right? We talk about all those things, but with anything, it requires consistency.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, don't reach out and offer value once and, then peace out. Don't
Right.
reach out, try to have a job interview with them on your phone call and then
Right.
peace out. Right. Yeah. No matter what you do, if it's right or wrong, at least be consistent. At least be consistent with it, but ultimately do the right things and be consistent with your communication.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to make sure that you're having the conversations with them. One that is the best way for them to accept and receive that conversation.
Yep.
Okay. So I would ask people when I was talking to them, especially if I just said, "Hey, they're like, I would never move, Matt," and I'm like, "Great. You mind if we stay connected? I'd love to hear what's going on in the market." And they would say, "Yeah, that's fine." I would ask, is the best way for me to send, if I come across anything that's just killer that's going on in the market that I think will help you out, is it best for me to text it to you or email or just call? Does it matter? And then at that point, I would make a note of that, and that's how most of the time I would follow up with them.
Yeah.
And I would send stuff to them, and I cannot tell you the number of times I would send something. "Hey, this is just wanted to follow up with you. I came across this based on our conversation. I hope this helps out with your business. How's the market?" And would hear nothing. Crickets.
Yeah.
Over and over and over, I would hear nothing from them, and it was difficult to keep going. But it's a text. You know it's being delivered.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's a voicemail. You know it's being delivered unless there's no room in a voicemail, right? Yeah. A whole different conversation. Email, for the most part, it's being delivered. It's person to person. You're not spamming them with 8 million different things that they never asked for. At that point, that it's getting there. Just do some basic follow up with them. "Hey, I sent you an email that had a link to an article that was on the .loot blog. Hope it helps you out with your business. I'd love to connect soon and just hear about the market," and hit send.
Yeah.
They at that point they're seeing who you are as a person. Right?
Yeah.
They're seeing that you follow through. I cannot tell you the amount of times people have said, "Oh, Matt, your follow through is just like impeccable. Your follow up and your follow through is just impeccable," right?
Yeah.
And they would agree to meet with me, sometimes even though they didn't want to, just because I'd followed up with them enough, and there became a time when they almost felt obligated.
Yeah.
And they were like, so if I'm trying to prove to them that I see something in them, or I see that them and I working together would be beneficial to them, I should treat that like it's important. For me to treat it like it's important, I have to be consistent. If something's important, you don't just do it once, right?
Exactly.
And then you communicate it in a way that's going to allow that consistency to be as effective as possible. So you have to ask that question, and you've just got to stick with it. Then you got to take notes in your CRM or like our app. That's why our app is set up the way that it is so that it makes that communication just like that. Effective, valuable, but just like that.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening, obviously. One last thing. Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society. Right? It's every single Friday. It's 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It is an absolutely free, complimentary, whatever word you want to use that makes the marketing sound good to you. Complimentary mastermind that we do with brokers from across the country who want to come in, talk to us about maybe something that they had a question on about from one of the podcasts, or just something going on with their brokerage. It is super casual. It is super fun. Sometimes there's 1 or 2 brokers in there. Sometimes there's 25 brokers in there. Right? It's just it's a free for all. But we have a good time. We collaborate. We share stories, answer questions, and it's just kind of a good way to wrap up the week. put a smile on our faces, and then go and enjoy the weekend. So if you can make it 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every single Friday, and then go to the links down below, register. It says Broker Pro Not So Secret Society. We would absolutely love to see you there and actually meet our listeners.
Yep, we love it.
Yep. So guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? Hit that subscribe button. And hit that bell right beside it to get notified every time we drop a new episode. Guys, go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com. Check out all the cool things we have to grow your brokers no matter what phase or stage of the business that you're in. Matt, we do these for one reason and one reason alone. And tell them why that is.
It's because we want to be part of their win, Ben.
That's right.